Hello everyone and welcome to a new IBMI RPG sample video. Today I'd like to talk about the difference between RPG programs that are made with the logic cycle and the RPG programs that are made without the logic cycle. There may be people who still don't know that programs can be made without the logic cycle. The questions that I'd like to answer are: in which cases should we use one or the other? What advantages does each of them have? And which ones should we be using? Let's go. Okay, let me answer the three questions that I made at the beginning. Let's talk about in which cases should we use one or the other. Well, as RPG developers, we know what is the logic cycle. It is something that made RPG special in the old days. When loops didn't exist in the language yet, it provided developers with tools to process files, make reports, etc. Nowadays, it is something that perhaps is no longer necessary. Everything has advanced a lot, and in fact, we cannot even define files to be processed as primary if we use full free RPG. So really, the cycle is hardly used anymore in new programs when we talk about processing files. However, it is still widely used, perhaps out of ignorance or perhaps because we have always used it. The logic cycle allows processing files until reaching the last record. This last record is still used as an indicator, and by activating it, we are telling the program that once finished, it should close the global files and delete all static memory. So, in which case should we use cycle RPG programs? The answer is none. Nowadays, with the use of ILE and activation groups, as well as the use of procedures and sub-procedures, it is no longer necessary to use it. The second question is: what advantages does each of them have? Well, if we really shouldn't use programs with cycle anymore, the advantage of using the cycle nowadays is known. We can use programs using embedded SQL or directly use files, but with current tools, using the cycle makes no sense. Third question: which one should we be using? Well, the answer is programs with no cycle. As you know, IBM has ignored the possibility of declaring primary and secondary files in its full free RPG version. This is further proof that it is something that belongs to the past. We should not use it anymore. Anyway, this is as far as the file declaration goes. We can still use the LR indicator and its functionality. It is the same as always. That doesn't mean that we should use it. We can do the same in other ways. There is something more to keep in mind. If we are looking for better performance in a program, maybe the best way is always using a non-cycle program, because that way we are not including the logic that makes this program cycle. Well, let me show you an example of a program that uses the logic cycle. I have not declared files as primary or secondary. This is very old, and for sure you know it exists and know how to do it. I only want to show you how the program works. Okay, let's open it. This is the one. Well, as you see, the program is just writing a text to the job log and then ends. Look at the LR indicator. It is being activated, and that means that we want to end the program and remove everything from the memory. If we don't activate it, the text will remain in memory, and the next time we call the program, it will contain hello world even before its content changes. Also, if you see, I'm using a return to end the program. What will happen if we don't write a return? Well, in that case, the program will not end. It will write the text all the time until we close the session. With return, I'm breaking the logic cycle. Okay, let's take a look on how it works on the green screen. Let me first of all compile the program. It is compiled, and let's go to the green screen. If I start the debug session, let's stop it here and let's call the program. If you see, text is empty, and when I'm running this line, then text has this value, hello world. Okay, I'm sending it to the job log, and I'm ending the program. Okay, before ending the program, I'm activating the LR indicator. Okay, well, if I run it again, if I see text is empty again. Okay, so the programs will run in the same way. Text, send the text message to the job log, and ending the program. Okay, so this is the way it is running when I'm using the LR indicator. Okay, if I remove it and I compile the program again, let's go to the green screen, and if I start again at the box session, let's run the program. Now text is empty. Okay, so if I run the program, it will send the message to the job log in the same way as before. But what will happen if I run the program again? In this case, if you see, text have the text inside. Okay, we are not run this line, but the text is inside the variable. Why? Well, because we have not activated the LR indicator in the previous execution of the program. Okay, well, this program is being used in the cycle, and it is written in full free RPG, but we want to remove the cycle from this program. How can I do it? Well, for that, first of all, I need to change the program format. I need it to be written using only procedures. Also, the main procedure must be a procedure. Okay, after that, I have to tell the compiler which procedure is gonna be the main, and that is done using the main keyword. Also, there is something more. I need to tell the compiler that the program is not going to be run in the default activation group, so that way we can control our resources, in this case the memory. Well, the program will be something like this. Let me open it. And let me put it here, so you can compare both programs. Okay, both are making the same. Well, as you see, in this case, we are not using the LR indicator. We don't need it anymore. Also, the program will end when the main procedure ends, even not having a return. Okay, it will end when the main procedure ends. As in the other case, let's see how it works on the green screen. Let's start a debug session. Okay, well, as you can see, the program is starting in this procedure, in the main procedure, because in the options line, I have indicated to the compiler that this is gonna be the main procedure for this program. Okay, it doesn't matter the name. You can write here a different name. Okay, and if you have more than one procedure in the same program, you can select which of them is gonna be the main. Okay, well, in this case I only have one, but it is the same if you have more. Also, I'm not gonna run this program in the activation group, in the default activation group. I'm gonna run it in the activation group named test121. Okay, well, let's call the program. And if you can see, the program is doing the same as before, but now I'm not having the LR indicator, so the program is ending when the main procedure ends. Okay, what will happen if I run it again? Well, in this case, as you can see, text is empty. Okay, so I'm working in the same way as before when the LR indicator was activated. Okay, well, let's see what will happen if I change this. Let me change the variable declaration, I'm gonna say that this variable is static. Okay, if I compile the program, okay, let's start it again. And if I run it, let me see, text is empty. Okay, so the program is ending. Let's start it again. And if I see text has the hello world sentence inside before assigning it to the variable. Okay, this is because of the static keyword. Okay, well, there are many options to make this program keep the information in memory after the first execution. We can use static as in the example, and we can also use a global variable and take into account the activation groups. There are many more options than in the previous version. Okay, well, as you see, things have changed, and although all programs can still be used and the Cycle 2, it is no longer recommended to use it. It is always better to use the new tools and leave the old behind. Also, it is always good to know that it exists. I hope you liked the video and that it was useful to you. As always, remember to like and subscribe if you aren't already. See you on the next video. Thanks for watching.